Ladies and gentlemen, Hex community of all ages, hey, it's me, Jake Freedom, coming to you live from YouTube for yet another Hex update Saturday for January 11th, 2014. Now, last week's patch wasn't too exciting. We really didn't have anything released. The only announcement we really had was the Hex TCG Pro Challenge Series tournament, which for myself starts in about 2 hours. Other than that, not a whole lot announced. This week, patch 8.2.0, released on the 9th of January here, I think just a couple days ago, is littered with some changes, a few new cards, some gameplay changes, and a whole slew of balance changes. Now, we probably won't go through all of these because there is so much. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll go ahead and put a link in the description below so you guys can go ahead and read that when you have a minute there just to go over the patch notes that I don't cover. So first of all, let's go ahead and get started here. And the first one we're going to talk about here is the players can now click on the name of a card within the text of another card to see what that card is. Basically what they're talking about there are cards that create other cards, like for example the Incantation of Savagery. Incantation of Savagery creates a feral beast. We couldn't find that before. We always had to go out and search the internet and try to find out what it was and this, that, and the other thing, and there was no way in-game to find that card. Well, now they've changed that, so if we actually go to the card manager, I have an Incantation of Savagery in this deck here. And in the text, we can see where it says Feral Beast, and you can click on it, and it'll actually pull that card up, which is super nice. I really like that feature that they finally added that. Now, if anybody here is a fan of Incantation of Savagery and the Feral Beast, you've already noticed a change to this card, but we'll come back to that. So, the next thing we're going to talk about here is the friend list will now tell if a player is on or offline. Tooltips of cards are no longer active when you have the friends list up. The report bug button now correctly opens the bug forum only once. Let's see, the response feedback sound from the sound effect volume setting now works. I don't ever notice that. I never run with the sound on the game in anyway. So friends chat is now colored blue. And let's see, Inspiration Engine has been renamed to Ingenuity Engine. Okay, Construction Plans Inspiration Engine has been renamed to Constructive Plans Ingenuity Engine. The Eldritch Shield has been renamed to Arcane Shield. And then we got the Shinhair Highborn has been renamed to Shroomshaw, and its trait line has been updated to Shroomkin. Carrion Blob's trait line has been changed from Ooze to Blob. Now some of the gameplay changes that they got here. We're just going to go over a few of them. There's about 20 of them. Hit kind of the high point ones here. What do you know about the Construction Plans, Warhulk one? All cards where a player can actively decline a troop's ability will no longer cause the game to get stuck. Let's see here. Selecting a card with Spell Shield to discard from Giant Corpse Fly will no longer cause the game to get stuck, which is good. Pact of Life now correctly gives the owner health when you play Shards of Fate. It obviously wasn't doing that before. Let's see, Dwarven Armory now correctly costs 1 resource to use its ability, which is good. Eternal Guardian no longer incorrectly prevents damage from cards that have pay life cards or effects, things like that. Let's see here, the AI no longer incorrectly wields shared control over troops stolen by Mancubus. The Living Totem now follows activated ability rules, which is good. So now you can respond to that kind of stuff. Revert. This is a big discussion on the forums and whether or not Revert should, have any effect on the incantation cards, whether or not it should remove the counters. It now does. Incantation will now remove temporary effects and counters from cards like that. Ritualist of the Spring Litter now creates the correct number of Shinhair with Shroom Tank and Shroomshaw. Let's see here. Incantation will no longer incorrectly trigger continuous effects from transformed cards outside the war zone, which is good. And they finally got Princess Victoria fixed, so if you have her in your opening hand, she will now cost 0. And also another big one is socket restrictions are now in place. So you can only put major gems in major sockets. Alright, so now let's go over some of the balance changes here. These are going to be changes to cards and their card costs and what their effects are. There's a whole slew of these as well. There's probably about 25 of them. We'll just hit some of the high point ones here. Secret Lab now costs 4 instead of 3. Incantation of Fear costs 4 now instead of 2. Ozawa, he now costs 8 instead of 7. Kind of disappointed in that one, but oh well. Incantation of Righteousness now costs 2 instead of 1. Life Siphon. I'm glad they made this change here because it was very similar to Burn to the Ground. I don't know why they didn't have it like this. Life Siphon was basically just, deal X. Where Burn to the Ground was, always 1 plus X. So now they've changed Life Siphon to be, the 1 plus X to deal it. So if you have 8 resources, you can actually only deal 7 damage, which is good. Booby Trap, they made a change to this one here. It now deals 4 damage instead of 5. Feral Beast Defense, as you saw before, has been changed from 6 to 3. Disappointing, but that 6/6 1-cost card after they were transformed was very difficult to deal with and very cheap, so it's probably a good thing that they changed it there. The Ruby Enchantress Defense has been changed to 1 instead of 2. Menacing Gulk now has 3 Sapphire Threshold instead of 2, and its defense has been changed to 2 instead of 3. Wild Root Dancer now has a 2 wild threshold instead of 1. I'm not really sure why they did this, because to get it out, if you're playing, your wild deck, you're still going to be able to hit that 2 threshold really quickly. So I'm not sure, if that one's really going to have a game-changing impact there or anything like that. So Boulder Brute now has 1 wild threshold instead of 2. Let's see here. Giant Corpse Fly now reads Flight. When this troop enters play, target champion chooses and discards a card. Let's see. Elite Battletech now reads, when this troop enters play, create 2 worker bots and put them into play. Sacrifice 2 robots you control and put target opposing troop into its controller's hands. Before, it didn't have opposing on there, it just said put target troop into controlling hands, so you could actually use it to bounce cards back yourself. Well, now you can't do that. It has to be an opposing troop, unfortunately. Curse of Oblivion. They made a change to this card too, which I was kind of glad to see. Now reads, choose target opposing card on the chain, void each other card with the same name from its controller, deck, graveyard, and hand. Basically, before, how Curse of Oblivion worked is you could go ahead and click on their deck, and you could look at their entire deck and what they had in it. And then you just picked out a card that they still had 4 of them in there or whatever, and you could void them. But in the meantime, you could study their deck, and you could see what they actually had. And some people were taking, advantage of that, and so they finally made a change to Curse of Oblivion to get rid of that negative side effect, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Let's see here. Some known issues here is Banjutsu has had a text change, but it persistently stubborn at working correctly. The friends list on offline status does not update in real time. The new cards, sometimes what happens when you patch, the new cards won't show up, right when you go into the game. Basically, all you gotta do is just close your game, open it back up, the cards will be there. Let's see here. So that's going to be that there. Let's go over some of the new cards here. The first new card here is Manti, Elder Druid. Let's go ahead and pull him up here. See, he is a 5-cost, 2 threshold wild card. He is a troop, and his text is, when this troop enters play, you may revert target troop. He is a 4/4. Yeah, I don't know. 5-cost, 2 threshold, 4/4 to be able to revert a target troop. It can be useful. I don't know how much use it's actually going to get. It's kind of a situational card, I think. It is a 4/4, but it is 5 cost. So, I would say on a scale 1 to 5, he's probably a 2. Nothing more than that. I don't know. Let's see here. Another one here is Drew's Colossal Walker. This is an artifact card. Big and scary. I think he's kind of cool. Oops. Alright, Drew's Colossal Walker. He's a troop artifact robot. He has Crush. He's a 5-cost, 8/8. Seems reasonable. Actually, it seems kind of overpowered with Crush. But the text on this card here is, okay, this troop must attack each turn if able. Also, this troop does not ready automatically during your ready phase. While this troop is exhausted, you have to pay 8 health to ready him again. So either you're going to pay 8 health, you're going to use a Dwarven Turbine to ready him again. So he doesn't ready automatically by himself. So one way or the other, you have to do something to ready him, whether it be use your Dwarven Turbine or pay 8 health. He does 8/8 damage. I suppose you could probably get away with sacrificing some health, but it definitely have to be a late game deal where you are for sure have control of the board. So I could see him getting a lot of use for sure. Let's see here. Next card is Uring the Robomancer. Let's pull him up here. Uring the Robomancer. He is a Sapphire, 4 cost, 2 threshold, 1/2 card. He is unique. And he's a Dwarf Cleric Troop. Basically with him, what you can do is, you can exhaust him, you can create a worker bot and put it into play. Another thing you can do is you can transform target worker bot you control into a war bot, or you can transform a war bot you control into a War Hulk. I think he's powerful. I think he's a good card there. Unfortunately, he's unique, so you can't, have more than one out in the field, but 4 cost, 2 threshold. For what he can do, I think, I'd put him, on the scale 1 to 5, I'd give him probably 3.5, maybe closer to 4. I like that card. I like it a lot. Next card here is Oakhenge Ceremony. This is a wild card. 1 cost, 1 threshold. So, Oakhenge Ceremony is, like I said, 1 cost, 1 wild threshold, basic action. And what you can do here is you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Put a troop among them into your hand, then shuffle the remaining cards into your deck. This I will probably be playing in the decks that I have wild. I do like it. So if you're struggling trying to find a card you need, say you want Jadam, or running a multicolored deck and you need a particular troop out, pull this guy. Hopefully he's in the top 5, and you can get him there. The downside of it is you have to shuffle the remaining cards into the deck somewhere, so you never know where they're going to land. You may not never get them again. Who knows? But I think that is a good card for 1 cost. I do like that one a lot there, and I do think that's probably going to make its way into the actual metagame. Next card here, Lord Benjamin the Wise. Let's take a look at him. Lord Benjamin the Wise, 2 cost, 1 threshold, Sapphire, Human Mage Troop. He is a 1/1, also unique. He has flight, but when Benjamin, get that out of there, pull him back up here. When Benjamin deals damage to an opposing champion, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put a human from among them into your hand, shuffle the remaining cards into your deck. If you run a lot of human cards in your Sapphire deck, or human cards in general, this will be coming very handy. A 2 cost, 1/1 flyer, that's unique. I don't think he is going to be that great. I don't know. That one's up in the air for me. Literally, he's got flight. He's up in the air. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I don't know about this one here. Very easily to be removed. There's only 1 defense. So I don't know. Not sure I like that one a whole heck of a lot. Next card here is Ascetic and Esperant. Oh, I have a tough time saying some of these names here. Ascetic? How you say it? Ascetic? Let's see if we can find him here. Ascetic Aspirant. Just call him that. 4 cost, 2 threshold, Diamond Human Troop. You can exhaust him and transform this troop into an Enlightened Seeker. Now that we can click on the card text and we can find out who an Enlightened Seeker is. So 4 cost, 2 threshold, 3/4. You can transform him into the Seeker here. The Seeker is an enlightened human. When this card is out, you can't play cards. At the end of your turn, draw a card. Then, if you have 7 or more cards in your hand, transform this troop into the Transcended. The Transcended is 4 cost, 2 threshold, 5/6. If you would draw a card, search your deck for any card and put it into your hand. Odd text. Strong troop. Actually played against a deck last night that had this in there, and he had a couple inspiration cards out, so he hit the board as a 7/8 instead of a 5/6. So he was definitely strong, powerful card. I do like this particular card here. Doesn't take a whole lot to get him out. And the only thing I don't like about the whole chain of events and getting this in is this guy right here. If you only have 1 card in your hand and you have to keep drawing until you get 7, you're going to be in some trouble. So make sure when you transform him, you have at least 6 cards or 7, so he can immediately get out of this stage here when you can't play cards. So that's my only advice with that card there. Other than that, I do like it. I'd give him a 4, possibly 5 there. The next card here is Peak. Peak is reminds me of a Magic card, I think. Doesn't Magic have a Peak card? Anyway, Peak is a Sapphire card, 2 cost, 1 threshold, quick action. Basically, you can look at the cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of diamond thresholds or sapphire thresholds you have. Put one of them into your hand, then shuffle the remaining cards into your deck. Now, I do believe that the Wild Sapphire deck is kind of a popular combination, so if you're running this along with Oakhenge Ceremony, you'll have a lot of actions to be able to get cards from your deck into your hand without having to wait for the draw. So again, I like this card here. I'd probably give him a 4, 4.5 as well. He probably, 2 cost is probably a little cheap, especially if if you're gonna have like 8 or 9 threshold, 2 cost to look at 9 cards is probably a little cheap. I'm gonna guess this card will probably change over the time, but we'll just have to wait and see. So those are the new cards there that have come out this week here. Like I said, there's a ton of other balance changes that we didn't go over. Like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We went over most of the gameplay changes here, but like I said, there'll be a link to the description, or link in the description to the actual patch notes. You can go ahead and check them out yourself on the HEX forums when you have a little more time. So other than that, that's going to be this week's update. It was exciting. I like it. Except the HEX TCG Pro Challenge Series tournament is been started. It's underway. People have already been started playing. Like I said, it starts today for me, so wish me luck. We'll see how we do. Hopefully we can make it past round 1. This is a very long tournament. It goes until like July, I believe, is when the invitational actually is. I'm not going to say I'm going to get to the invitational. It would be awesome if I did, but I don't think I will. But we'll see. We'll take a look there. Other than that, if you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, go ahead and click subscribe, and I'll have another video for you soon.